Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. D-Mac, James Marilat hanging out in studio. We were both, or I guess all three of us really were giggling at some of the reactions we have on that open, which make me laugh. But I was putting together, we have a town hall here at the station today, and I was putting together a video of like all the funny moments. You guys, this show is so funny. Like we do some really dumb, funny stuff, but I feel like people also walk away and are like, I gained a little bit of knowledge, and I'm like so proud of that.
Well, because I find myself so hideous to look at, I generally don't look back at things, but I listen to the audio version of things.
Gotcha.
Now, I appear in a few of the clips.
Yeah.
I don't say a single word.
It's just your reaction.
It's just me reacting to D-Mac.
Yeah.
Or it's me jumping in a pool in Phoenix. That's the only two times.
Incredible, though.
Yeah, you're like the Jackson Mahomes of this particular show. Like you're there.
Yeah.
But we don't want to hear from you.
Don't let me say or do too much.
Listen, I watched episode 1 of Quarterbacks last night.
What'd you think?
It was good. It was a little bit slower than I thought. Like I thought it would be a little.
Listen, I hear people complain about like shows are slow. I sped watched The Bear.
I didn't even know we could do this.
Yeah, well, you just hit fast forward because all these shows are already saved. You're not watching them live.
Okay.
And it's like, if you're like, oh, okay, he's eating breakfast. You know,
but see, that's what interests me the most is watching Kirk Cousins, and he has the most basic life ever. Like,
what bores you though? What bores you watching that show?
I don't know. It's just like a little bit slower. Like, I'm like, okay, I understand this is a stressful job, yada yada yada.
Exactly.
But
Forward. Can be like, okay, all right, I'm watching the TV show The Bear, which was a good first season. The second season left something to be desired. You know, and I'm just like, okay, he's meeting the girl. He's kissing the girl. He's kissing the girl. He's gonna hook up with the girl. Okay, good. Let's move on.
That's like reading the cliff notes of a book.
Yeah, but let's go.
Enjoy the process.
Nah. You don't have to ever worry about anything being too slow when it's on demand. Just go. Crap.
You're not watching it like at a faster time though, so they're talking.
No, you can do that too though.
Podcast.
You can go. Yeah, you can do that. But I know where
you skip through certain parts.
It's Marcus Mariota, his childhood friends making him an omelet. I mean, I get it. Omelet, and that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm just giving you a hint that's going to help you get through these shows.
Okay. I'm excited to see what ends up happening because I know as the playoffs get closer and yada, 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 it's going to get a little bit more interesting.
The best parts for me by a mile were the interactions that Patrick Mahomes, that all the quarterbacks had kind of with their coaches. Mm-hmm. Like, I do like the process. I'll speak Canadian a little bit. I do like the process. I do like knowing how the sausage is made. Mm. So whenever it gets to that part, to me, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, the fourth episode, I think it is, when they're going through all the cerebral part of it and how they have to study the playbook, and it's Marcus Mariota's wife like giving him play calls, and he's got to know him. It's like, man, there is a lot that you have to process on a weekly basis. It's not just, hey, do the install in camp and you've kind of got it down. It was kind of eye-opening, and it was impressive, to be honest.
It does get better as the season goes because they don't waste time. They just get right to games, and you don't go through game by game by game. They do skip, and like some of the games that aren't all that interesting, they blow through, like the Chiefs playing the Broncos. I mean, there's like 5 seconds of those two games, which were kind of close.
Also, I was so offended when Patrick Mahomes said that the Raiders-Chiefs rivalry was like the one in the AFC West. And I was like, well, that just like stung a little bit as a Broncos fan.
Well, who's the rival for the Broncos these days? You can't be a rival for somebody if you lose to them 15 times in a row. You are not a rival. You are, you're a road. You're something that you're being plowed over.
Well, it goes back, though, years and years and years. I mean, all four of these teams were original AFL teams. So if you asked the three fan bases other than the Raiders, who's your rival? They would all say the Raiders. Yeah. Chiefs fans hate the Raiders most. Broncos fans hate the Raiders most. Chargers fans hate the Raiders most. It's just the way it is. So, but yeah, if you get beat every single time, there's not much of a rivalry. It's a little bit like the CU-CSU rivalry there, Rachel. It kind of is hard to make an argument for it when it's so one-sided.
Who did have more wins last year?
I do know CSU's over-under this year is 5. and CU's is 3.5.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say.
they're expecting the Rams to have a better year.
Let's go CSU. I'm
They do
wearing
play
my green
head-to-head,
for
though.
the
Yeah, I
Rams.
know. I was going to say, if there's one game Prime cannot lose,
Week
there's
3.
There's no pressure on CSU.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. I mean, you cannot lose that
It's
game,
at
right?
Folsom, right?
It's at Folsom,
Yeah,
and
I
they
have
play
to
the
go
week
to that.
before against Nebraska. So if
Mhm.
you lose back-to-back Nebraska and then CSU, you talk about just the bloom going off of that rose in a hurry up in Boulder. Those are 2 games you have to win. CSU's number 1. You have to win that game. Nebraska, people will be pretty upset if they don't.
Well, we'll talk
Close
about
the deal.
Folsom Field here in a little bit, but I do want to talk about Bruce Brown because he did a podcast recently, and there's a bunch of clips that are going viral. But one that really kind of stuck out to me was Jokic wasn't playing no games, and he admits that the Lakers series was very personal. Well, we talked a little bit about this because we know the Michael Malone-LeBron relationship, and I feel like for a lot of us during the series, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, they know each other. There's this relationship, and now it feels like, oh, there was a lot of like drama and backstory to that relationship.
Yeah, and I think there still is. I mean, Darvin Ham
Mhm.
last week making some comments about how, that's only one chapter. It's not over. There's more to come.
Mhm.
So, look, talking about rivalries, Nuggets and Lakers starting to kind of build one here.
Yes.
Certainly, Nuggets fans have disliked the Lakers for a long, long time. They were the team that the Denver could never get past
Yep.
in the playoffs prior to this year. Now that the Lakers are getting a little ticked at the Nuggets, it makes it a little bit more interesting. So, sign me up for it. I like
I do
that
too.
kind of drama. I liked in the playoffs when it got a little chippy with the Suns when Bruce Brown went into the Suns huddle during the quasi timeout. Like, I like a little bit of that angst. It bothers me when Russell Wilson loses a game at Vegas and he's exchanging jerseys with Derek Carr. Like, no, let's have a little bit of animosity.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing.
I think it's fascinating to reflect on what Brown said and watch Jokic, and then think about what Jokic said afterwards, after the Lakers. He thought he'd feel more. So the intensity level that he put into it was significant. He thought he'd feel more. But at the end of the day, once they got past the Lakers, he realized very quickly, within a half hour, that this isn't what it was all about. But it was definitely something going through it he had to go through vocally, like Bruce Brown said. Remember, he's got the whiteboard out. He's writing things down. I mean, calling the play, Coach Jokic, the whole thing. I mean, that was part of that whole adventure right there. So I think there now is a rivalry between the Nuggets and the Lakers. I think there always was one with the Suns. That helps a little bit. I think there's virtually nothing with Minnesota. And, we don't care about the Heat either. But I think the Lakers and the Suns do pose interesting rivalries. The Broncos don't get that right now. They don't, except maybe with the Chargers, who they always seem to figure out one way or the other. It's just not there with the Chiefs, and I don't know what's going on with the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, as a longtime Broncos fan, it would still be the Raiders for me, right?
Yep.
Like, and that's the game. If you lose those games as a head coach, that tends to be what gets you fired, right? Josh McDaniels losing 59-14. It's Vic Fangio calling a timeout so the Raiders can figure out if they want to go for 2 and get the right play in. Nathaniel Hackett last year didn't fare any better against them. So that's the games that fans tend to focus on.
Yeah.
But when you've lost 15 times in a row to a team like the Chiefs, that does start to make it of like, okay, that's the hill we got to climb. So I would put the Chargers dead last. I mean, when you go to those games,
yeah, but
it's half
who
Broncos fans.
are the players' rival? I understand.
I don't think they have anybody.
Who our rivals are.
Yeah, I
I
don't
get
think
it.
it's
Who
anybody.
we say, I get it. What about them? Because when you watch quarterback, you see the venom with 2 teams with the Chiefs, which is the Raiders, and especially with the Bengals. Much more so than the Bills. It's really about the Bengals.
Yeah.
But
The
you
Broncos,
gotta win. You gotta win games. You gotta win games. You can't be a doormat, or you get nothing.
I mean, the Broncos don't have one. It was the Patriots for a fairly long period
Yep.
there. They played them in the playoffs a lot. It was Brady and Manning, all the rest of that kind of thing. But listen, when you're 5-12, nobody is circling you on their schedule. Everybody around the NFL, when they're looking at their schedule, when they see Denver, they're going, well, that's a W.
Well, all that being said, what we just said, if you're the coach of the team and you're playing a team that the fans are going to perceive as a rival, get ready for it. Don't be aiming for your next job. Doesn't matter if your dad once coached for them and they were nice to you. I mean, this is circled. This is a game that matters to us. It don't give me. When I heard Justin Outen said every game's a rivalry, it's just like, oh, well, then nothing matters then if you're going to say that.
Well, there were a couple of moments with the last two head coaches when you were like, they just don't get it.
Yeah.
Right. So it was Vic Fangio coming out on the first day of Avs camp, and he's got the Landeskog sweater on, and he doesn't even know whose sweater he's wearing. Like, come on, man. You couldn't have got 30 seconds of, some sort of a.
I will say though, of like all the names, even if we know the PR people over there, they probably did tell him, and he was like, "I'm never gonna remember."
The craziest thing,
if you don't pay attention to hockey, you're like,
I asked him, I go, "Who's your favorite player?" All he had to do was say, "This guy."
Exactly.
This guy.
That guy I'm wearing.
Boom.
So that was when you're like, okay.
I actually kind of set him up for a pretty cool moment.
Yeah.
And instead he was like, I watch basketball, or something like that.
And then with Hackett,
he's wearing the sweater. He's wearing it.
And then with Hackett, he was given multiple opportunities every time they played the Raiders, every time they played the Chiefs to talk about, hey, it's a rivalry.
Yeah.
And I get it the first time around, maybe you fumble it and you misplay it. But the next game and the next game and the next game, you just keep saying the same things of I love everybody. And, I don't want to have any hate in my heart or whatever his answer was. Like, it's sports hate. It's not actual hate.
Right.
Like, he just didn't get it and, didn't endear himself with the fans. So those were the two moments outside of all the debacles on the field where you can go, all right, this just wasn't going to work.
Do you know why the players under Mike Shanahan hated the Raiders? Because Mike Shanahan hated the Raiders because they owed him money. He had a financial sort of
Wait, there's a backstory to it.
James probably knows it better than I. But yeah, there's a big time financial dispute with Shanahan and Al Davis. So he would not leave any stone unturned. I mean, everybody was quite aware.
Wow.
And I understand every week's the Super Bowl in the NFL. Every game's a must-win game. I mean, I get it. But sometimes you do got to turn it up a notch. And if you can't, like Nathaniel Hackett, man, I mean, you have lost last year going into it 13 straight games to the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't just like, the Raiders or the Chargers. You've lost 13 games in a row to one team. I mean, if you can't, say that this actually does mean a little bit more, this is embarrassing. We have never had a stretch like that ever, and they haven't. And you got to go back to the 60s when the Broncos were garbage, and somehow they never had a 15-game losing streak. They had like a 13-game losing streak, won a game, and then had a 12-game losing streak. But somehow, how did they win that game? And the Broncos haven't even won that game.
Well, and to focus on the positive, though, Sean Payton in his introductory press conference, and I don't remember word for word what it was.
Along the lines of we're rooting for the Eagles because we don't root for anyone in the AFC West.
Exactly. That was exactly what it was. It was leading into the Super Bowl. We're rooting for the Eagles because I don't root for anybody in the AFC West. Perfect. Exactly what I want to hear.
Thank you very much.
Because as Broncos fans, we were all rooting for the Eagles. We were all Jalen Hurts fans all of a sudden, and Nick Sirianni and everybody else. That's just somebody who gets it. Does he truly dislike the Chiefs any more than he dislikes any other team? No, but play the game. Be smart enough to play the game.
It's entertainment, essentially. And I know this is their entire lives, but it is entertainment. So go for it. Build it up. Build it like a movie premiere, right? Build up that week. Make the anticipation so crazy fans can't even control it.
So far, Sean Payton's done a lot of things the right way. Yeah. They are headed into going to be the lowest attended training camp of all time. There's media restrictions that I know are coming down the line that are different than in the years past. But I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. I think Sean Payton should be allowed to sort of learn as he goes, but it's fine by me if he wants to do things one way, and that might stay the same. It might change over the years. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I think it's going to be a little odd. I think it's going to be a weird training camp. But then again, I went to training camp during COVID when there was nobody up there except for a handful of muggles, and we were all standing 30 feet apart from each other.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about a weird training camp. Yeah. I was one of the few media. I think I was lucky to be able to actually watch that training camp. Yeah. That was beyond weird. So, it's not that.
Well, one of the worst reasons to do anything is because that's how we've always done it. So the fact that Sean Payton wants to come in here and do things different, fine. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He is setting himself up, though. If he doesn't win and it doesn't go well, people are going to pounce. They just are because, hey, you changed the way we do things. And I use this example all the time. Bill Callahan, when he became the head coach at Nebraska, he stopped sending his assistant coaches out to the little small schools in Nebraska and doing the things which I get it. How much use is that really? Well, when you stop doing those things to endear yourself to the fan base and you lose, they are going to be all over you. Whereas they gave Scott Frost and some of the other coaches there all sorts of time. because they did those little things. So he's shortening his runway. I'll put it that way.
But he's also underhyping everything that's going on. And that is the exact opposite of CU. CU is overhyping things. The Broncos are underhyping things. Who has more pressure on them then? CU or the Broncos?
The Buffs.
I think the Broncos.
I think certain players, Russell Wilson has the most pressure on him of anybody in town.
But and that's only Coach Prime though, right? Like none of the.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Like no one else knows anybody on that team besides.
That's a good point. But man, if they come out and they lose to TCU and they could get boat race, that team was in the national title game last year. They lose to Nebraska. Heaven forbid they lose. I mean, they could go 0-5 to start. Yeah. They've got USC in there. Like it's a gauntlet. Talk about just all of a sudden everything going from super enthusiastic to nobody interested. That's a lot of pressure. Russell Wilson though is playing for his legacy, certainly his time in Denver, potentially his career.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of pressure on him. I just think he has a much better chance of success. Prime has taken over a team that won one game last year, and it was in overtime against a terrible Cal team.
Yeah.
Like 4-8 would actually be a pretty big improvement, but that would be a huge disappointment given how much hype they've had.
It's been interesting watching other coaches around college football kind of lay into Prime, you know, and there's a variety of examples, you know. So, hey, listen, it's going to be entertaining as hell. That's for sure. And so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're going to go back to basketball because Bruce Brown comments about, you know, the one, I don't want to use letdown, but the one thing about Jokic is that he's too unselfish. And if that doesn't describe Jokic to a T, it definitely is. Oh yeah, the biggest flaw, that was the word he used. Biggest flaw is that he's too unselfish. And that doesn't come as a surprise, I think, to anyone. Yeah,
that's, you know.
Do you want a star that's going to be selfish?
That's a tricky one because I think there's a method to Jokic's madness, and I don't think it's madness at all, actually. I think it's very logical. You know, I think Jokic goes into every single game the same exact way. What is the defense presenting? You know, he laughed at me one time because I asked him, well, do you have a feeling it's going to be like one of those games for you when you score 40 points? And he gave me, my friend, how would I know that? You know, one of those like really you idiot, because he doesn't know until it actually presents itself. So I think too unselfish. I don't know. I think Jokic really mechanically looks at the game. What's the defense? What's the game? How do I get everybody else involved? And what does it take to win? I swear to God, I don't think it's anything really more than that.
Well, and I think this is an example of like you're in a job interview and they say, hey, what's your biggest weakness? And you go with,
I try too hard.
I pay too much attention to detail. I'm too much of a perfectionist. Like that's what this is. What's your biggest flaw? I'm too unselfish. Okay. All right. Come on.
As someone who does a lot of interviews with people, James, have you noticed a trend in those certain answers?
Yeah, you're like nobody ever says, you know, I'm always late. I'd like some honesty.
Well, why do you ask the question in the first place?
I typically don't because I know what the answers are going to be. I always ask silly questions like, you know, what the most random job was. And somebody says a bartender, it's like, okay, what was your go-to drink? What's the thing you were best at? I want them to not be prepared because just the answer you're going to get is silliness. Like, I feel like
we all got a crash course on like how to answer those questions, and every single person is stuck with it nowadays.
Well, if you're ever in your job performance review and you don't say, that's the best I've ever done, I don't know what else you're doing to yourself.
I mailed it in this quarter. You guys didn't notice, so I think we're good.
You can't believe how many times I was late.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we move on because the Browns released an alternate helmet. And of course, everyone is talking about this. We had got the picture. I'll pull it up here in just a second. The ice cold. So there's the alternate helmet for the Browns on the left. And then we know the Broncos are releasing something on the 25th, which I think we're all pretty excited about. But I think we're just going to get a helmet. I think this is the NFL saying, hey, we need a bunch of teams to come out with something new. What's it going to be? I think we're going to see a helmet out of Dove Valley.
I just think like a metallic ice blue, like ice, like real ice.
Pull that picture back up.
That's not exactly white, would be so cool because blue is definitely, you know, a color of the Broncos. So some sort of metallic ice blue thing. Maybe it's a little shiny or a little fancy. I'm kind of thinking of those Oregon Ducks helmets. I don't know why they can't do that. I don't know if they can or they can't. But those college helmets that actually, as they turn, it's different shades of things. So I love, if that's the concept, I think it'd be cool to have that sort of thing. But I am like, no kidding, the worst fashion guy in the absolute world. So I leave this to the experts in terms of what's cool and what's not cool.
Well, that Browns uniform is awesome. By the
It
way.
looks cool.
It looks great.
I love the simplicity of it. It almost looks like a college uniform.
I thought it was the, you know what? I thought that was Oregon State at first when I first saw it.
It's cool.
It looks
I had to
great.
look at it a little bit.
So the NFL had this silly rule where you had to have the same helmet all season long. And it was part of their, attempt to deal with concussions. And it started, I don't know, a decade and a half ago. If Mace was here, he could tell you the exact date that rule started. And so it's part of why when they would wear like the throwback, they still had the navy blue helmet because it was the same helmet. They just changed the decals. They couldn't go back to it. This year, that's finally gone. So that's why you're starting to see some of these things. But I'm with you, D-Mac. If I were the Broncos, I would be like Oregon. I would roll out a different uniform every single week. I would just have a totally different look. We would sell more merchandise. Yeah. People wouldn't know what was coming at them. I think that'd be fantastic. So I think you need to go one extreme or the other.
Well, you're either
Penn State and you are classic and it hasn't changed for 100 years, or you're Oregon and you just roll out something crazier every single week. Be one extreme or the other.
If any team needs just a new rebranding of everything, I can't think of a team better than the Denver Broncos. And they don't have an established, this is what the uniform is forever sort of thing. They don't.
Really?
They've got a logo that I love, which is the old Bucky. Or no, I don't know if it's Bucky. Bucky's the one up on the stadium.
Not the D, it's the actual
the D with the horse coming through.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The classic one from the 80s.
I do love that logo, but I'm a little partial to it because I was out in Steamboat during the Orange Crush days when they went to the first Super Bowl when I was a little kid. So to me, it's like, well, that's it. That's the Denver Broncos. That's what it's always been to me. Other than that, I don't know. I don't care. If you can mix it up, if you can look cool, if you can have different things going on, I mean, why not? Why not be that team?
They've had the current uniform. I mean, they went from a blue primary jersey to an orange primary jersey, but the same helmet, the same pants, all that stuff since 1997. Wow. So more than a quarter century, they've had the same look. Talk about controversial. I mean, that was a huge change when they went with that, especially because it was navy blue jerseys to start with. Predominantly orange was the famous quote from Pat Bowlen about the new uniform of, it's predominantly orange. It was an orange stripe. There was very little orange. So, I think there actually is some tradition in that. They've been in this uniform longer than they've been in any uniform in their existence. But I do think it's time for a change. I'm not set in stone with it. I don't really love the current logo. So if they come up with something new, it starts on the 25th with whatever they're going to unveil. Hopefully it's just the beginning of a lot of it.
Have fun.
I love the D, so I would love to see the D come back. But see, I'm like, the horse head is just what I grew up, and so I'm like very attached to it, kind of like you are.
It's I get that. So listen, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. Do whatever looks cool,
but don't try and design it.
Don't be afraid to not take a chance here and there, and don't be afraid of some sort of criticism. The only uniform that to me looked awful in all those years was the orange on orange day glow marker,
the throwbacks, it was like throwback Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The color rush one. I wasn't a big fan of the brown and yellow. That was the colors first year with the striped socks.
Oh yeah, they
the vertical stripes.
Yeah, I don't know. But other than that, I don't know. They're gonna do something different. I know they've been on this. I know this has been a huge thing for Damani Leach. Gargantuan of all the things that he's sort of thought about and worked on, this may be the number one thing.
The number one team in town, though, that needs a rebrand is the Rockies. Their logo from 1993 that hasn't changed is so outdated. And
they tried with the green, though, and it was terrible.
Well, yeah, that's hideous, the alternate one. But, like, just the overall look of it, it's bad. They need a rebrand. The CR on the hat just doesn't make sense. Like, who else has the state and the nickname? It just doesn't make any sense. They need to blow it up.
Think about that. Say that again. The state and the nickname.
State or city and the nickname. Because they have CR, right? It's like it's LA, it's SF, it's A for Arizona.
Yeah.
It's S for Seattle. They all have one letter.
Yeah.
Not the silly Rockies. They got to put them both on there, and they haven't changed from it.
I never even thought of that. You're right. There's nobody else that's done that, right?
I know.
No. And it's not like they're
oh
the
my
Yankees.
God, I never even thought of that.
We have to stick with this because we've had so much success. Like,
it's not NY and NYY.
Right.
That's good. Okay.
It's
not SM or right on their logo.
Right. It's not. It's KC. It's typically just their location. Every once in a while, it's the mascot or the nickname.
Okay. That is crazy, man. All these years, I never even thought of that.
One thing about it, and I know James has to go here just shortly. The one thing I will say about the Broncos adding in like a bunch of different uniforms, like you said, being like Oregon, I worry, like we don't know what the Nuggets true uniforms are anymore. Like there's just so many of them that I'm they're all over the place.
Yeah. And you go to the game.
But if I'm going to buy one, like there's like 100 bajillion options.
Awesome.
And that's exactly what they want, because then you buy 100 different options
maybe
of
that's
Jokic
true.
I think it's actually kind of awesome that they have so many different. I think it's cool.
And you can debate which one you like the most. Like, I like the Mile High basketball one.
Yeah, so do I.
Some people like the throwback with the old rainbow. Like, whatever. It adds to that conversation. So I like the variety.
I do too. And the Avalanche actually have a wide variety of things throughout the years too, if you really think about it. So, okay. All right. There you go.
New uniforms. The 25th will not come soon enough. James, good luck going and chatting about all of us. And
I'm
telling
going
us
to
how
go.
wonderful
I'm
we
going
all
to
are.
go take the credit for all the hard work you guys do.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you very much. Okay, we will look to Folsom Field, though, because Wilson and company worked out up there. The CU Buffs football program even tweeting out dangerous. Got some work in on Folsom today. Definitely looking good. But DMAC, how do you feel about Jay Keeps running practice for Russell Wilson and company while they're up there?
I feel absolutely fine with it. Again, I'm telling you, this quarterback show on Netflix has been such a game changer for me, because a lot of these guys have their own quarterback coach and their own people. Yeah. And I mean, I watched that whole video and I thought it was awesome. First of all, how cool is it if you're a college kid, if all of a sudden a half dozen or so established NFL guys roll up on your field?
You can see the pictures too. It looks good.
And what CU did was so cool, because they lined the field for the pros. So it was all the hash marks, everything was set up for the pros. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think the whole thing was so cool in terms of the CU kids. And I think it was a neat environment too for Russell Wilson. And
he's looking good.
I saw Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, Manhurts, and Greg Dulcich. I don't know if there's other guys that I missed there.
Those were the big names that came out of it.
Okay. And, I did not see Shadur Sanders mixing in. It looked like it was just Jake Heaps sort of working Russ out. And I don't know if there were any other Broncos quarterbacks there. There may have been. I'm not sure. But I've got Jake Heaps is a fine guy. We've had him on the show a couple times. I know he's a good dude. He's a legitimate quarterback. He was. And he's that's fine. I got no problems with it whatsoever. I mean, I think everybody should be pretty encouraged to see Russell Wilson looking in great shape. The energy to be doing that stuff leading up to training camp. They're not taking it easy or something. Yeah. They're out there working. It looks good. I think a few people were a little over the moon with like, oh my God, here's Russ. This is going to be amazing. Yeah. This is what it looks like for NFL quarterbacks to throw footballs and move around. This is what it looks like. If you brought out 40 NFL quarterbacks, starters and backups, for the most part, against no defense, no pads, this is what it would look like. Here's what I think people don't get, because they just watch the games for the most part on Sundays. Well, it doesn't look like that. These guys are unbelievable athletes. Russell Wilson is a crazy good athlete. But guess what? So are all the guys that he plays with and plays against, and they're even younger. This is such a great example of what I said, like, you've got to be one of the Avengers, not the best looking dad in the drop-off line at Campus Middle School. Well, I think Russ has crushed that. Good luck being a better in shape. Go back to the picture. Good luck being a better looking dad in the drop-off line at Campus Middle School than Russell Wilson.
The buys look good. His face looks slimmed out.
He looks great. And listen, there have been some sloppy body quarterbacks over the years, no doubt about it. Yeah. But I think Russell Wilson has done a great job getting to the starting line. Okay. So, which is really discouraging when you think about what happened last year. Yeah. Because he wasn't in great shape at the starting line. Maybe he thought he would get in shape as training camp went on, but it was not a very physical, hard training camp. They just didn't have a training camp like that. And then they just weren't very well prepared. Yeah. I think it's so different. So I think everything and I think they're working out again today, because I could have sworn I heard them say that they're going to do it for 2 days.
I did see that as well. I find it very interesting. I think he looks great. Like Jay Keeps is up there. Of course, someone's going to be up there to kind of walk him through.
Do you have a problem with Jay Keeps being there?
I don't. I had a problem with Jay Keeps being in the building. I had a big problem with him having his own office, Russell Wilson. Like, that was a major thing for me last year, of just trying to have chemistry, building that with the team. I don't care that he's working out with Jay Keeps. They all have quarterbacks coaches. We're learning from the show quarterback. Like, they all have their own team. So I don't really care. I just know a lot of people don't love the idea of it.
Well, Jay Keeps has become a bit of a punchline for some obvious reasons. However, I'm telling you, he's not the devil. He's not a bad dude at all.
Yeah.
He's part of Russ's team, and every quarterback that makes that kind of money has a team of people, period. So whatever you feel comfortable with is fine.
Can we just go back to quarterbacks, the show, though, real quick?
Sure.
How normal Kirk Cousins' life looks. Like, how much he makes as a quarterback, but he's got just
I expected him to be putting away shopping carts at Walmart with Andrew Mason.
When his wife picks out his clothes, we know athletes spend a lot of money on their outfits to show up to game days. When his wife picked out that plaid shirt, I was like, I love it. I love the family. I love everything. It was so good.
It's like they're getting ready to go to Famous Dave's for some barbecue after.
And I love that everybody had like picked on him, essentially. I thought it was so funny. But you just know how much all these quarterbacks make, and like that's not a big deal for him.
Yeah, but
does it get to it?
But secretly, he's got the house in Minnesota. He's got a house in Michigan.
Okay.
He's got his own psychiatrist guy that he works with.
Yeah.
He's got his brain sort of wave scans things.
Okay.
He's got his own, massage sort of person that, helps. Yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It looks like he's very comfortable.
I'm only one episode in too, so that's probably
looks
why.
like he's very comfortable at, daddy pickup at Montessori school. But he's going to that, Well, wait till you watch more of it.
I can't wait.
You know what really does stand out to me watching this is all these three guys. They've got, and I think the most important partner they have in their life is all three of them are their wives, who are so supportive and so just there for
involved and
they're their own people too. It's not like it's just them, but when it comes to just trying to support everything in the family, I really did appreciate, well, you'll see it later, that on Tuesdays, hey man, that's my family day for Kirk Cousins. I put 6 days a week into this. I do have a day that I'm going to spend with my kids and my family.
Love it.
Mariota just had a baby.
Yeah.
They had a baby during the season. And Mahomes had his second child during the season as well. So they're all young fathers. They seem like doting husbands. I don't know, man. I like the guys.
Yeah.
I watch it. I end up liking the guys.
I know. It sucks. I even told my fiance too, because he's from Kansas. So he's a fake Chiefs fan to a degree. Like he cheers for the Chiefs, but I force him to cheer for the Broncos because of what I do, obviously. But he was just like, you have to love Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, I know you do. Like I even love Patrick Mahomes and I don't want to love Patrick Mahomes.
I'm laughing. What would the Aaron Rodgers profile be like? Staring in the mirror at himself, talking about himself on a podcast.
I would love it for him to take one of the cameras in and show his sanctuary.
Yes. Find his quiet, dark room and, whatever weird other things. When the ayahuasca festival is happening, he's going to be the lead.
I think Hard Knocks is going to be boring because of this. He's not a very exciting individual in my eyes.
No, but like, I really am curious to go sort of inside the narcissism that is Aaron Rodgers. I would find it fascinating.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. I've actually never watched Hard Knocks. Isn't that crazy?
You've never watched Hard Knocks?
I have not watched a single thing of Hard Knocks.
Don't bother with the last 5 or 6 years.
See, but that's what I've heard. So that's why I was like.
But if you've never watched it, Hard Knocks used to be brutal.
Yeah.
It's like bringing guys in, cutting guys.
I feel like when it became very trendy, everyone was like, oh, it sucks now. So don't watch it.
It's just not. I hate to be mean here, but the most compelling parts were cutting the guys and those moments where you're ending careers. And the way Hard Knocks used to do it was just holy cow. It was kind of in your face. And they've really changed from that. Yeah. They barely get into that whatsoever. So it's not, I'm not telling you got to get into it. But some of those early episodes, with the Ravens and the Jets, were just wild to see how they got rid of guys. I give you appreciation. Here is literally a garbage bag. Good luck. I always thought to myself, oh my God, now what is this guy going to do?
Yeah.
He's getting into his car with a garbage bag. He's been with this team for 8-9 months. What do you do?
Kind of sad.
It's sad. It's devastating. I don't know. But that was the drama of the show. If there was no drama, there would be no reason to watch a show. If there's no conflict.
For sure. Will Peterson did a really good article over at denversports.com talking about Courtland Sutton and how Courtland Sutton has 8 games to impress Sean Payton. Agree or disagree?
Absolutely. This happens every year though. And why they have the trade deadline. So, I don't know why they don't do the trade deadline a little deeper in the season. But they don't. They do it about halfway through the NFL season. And this is, are you in contention or are you not?
Yeah.
I think if they could have got a second round pick for Cortland Sutton, they would have traded him. We just saw the DeAndre Hopkins deal.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there was a list of like the top wide receivers in the league, and DeAndre Hopkins was like ranked like 15th or 16th.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. My thoughts of DeAndre Hopkins is he's one of the top 5 guys in the league. But I'm looking at the list of guys, and I'm like, well, yeah, that guy. Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, I forgot about Jamar Chase. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then you quickly realize, Rachel,
there's a ton.
Wow. Like, holy cow.
Yep.
And they're all, for the most part, younger guys who are just elite athletes who are all pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why when I rank the top 5 important positions, I got wide receiver above cornerback because I just think they have that much more of an impact.
Yeah.
The position that's getting crushed these days is running back. So I didn't know what DeAndre Hopkins really was thinking, but I don't know if he really got the offers, Rachel, to justify, so that probably was just the best offer he got, and he went for the money. They don't really have a permanent quarterback there yet in Tennessee. So I don't know what their plan is, but they got a great receiver. But there's a lot of great receivers out there.
Tennessee is so fascinating to me because it really felt like they had all the pieces and they were like this close and they could never just cross the finish line.
Yeah.
And now it feels like they just exploded the entire thing and they're like, all right, start over.
Well, they were one of the last teams to just so rely heavily on a running back.
Yeah.
Like we are running back first. And now the league, what it's telling you, and if you watch what's going on with Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley and Jacobs, you see that the value for these running backs is it could not possibly be lower.
Yeah.
These guys are not getting the deals. Hey, I love Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian's fantastic.
Phenomenal.
But for him to be going out on Twitter and being like, this is ridiculous and all that, it's like, hey, Christian, I mean, maybe you should just be happy with what you got because you might have the last great running back, contract. And when I do this, like Christian's more than a running back. He can do more things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these guys are just running backs for the most part. So I respect Christian for sure. And Christian's trying to stick up for his position.
Yeah.
But things have changed, Christian. And you should be happy, man. You might have been the last one in the door in terms of a huge contract.
Saquon Barkley's so interesting to me because he has to look around and know so many guys that he has played with as of recently don't have jobs right now. And so the fact to come and say, like, I'm not going to do this, that just blows my mind because
but he just has zero leverage. Once they put that tag on you and the players agreed to this franchise tag a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen other players try to fight against it. Demaryius Thomas tried to fight against it. It just doesn't work. Le'Veon Bell did this years ago. All it did was cost him.
Yeah.
It just cost him a ton of money and more or less it cost him like a good chunk of his career. And teams just don't want to work with you. I saw something the other day about a strategy for a running back. You draft a good one, the best that you can. You develop him for 4 years. If it's any good, you tag him for 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year you draft another running back. And that's it.
Repeat the cycle.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 5-year run with, say, a second, third round pick. I mean, I can't argue with that strategy.
Mm-hmm.
4 years, okay. Are you any good? Tag. All right. Nice knowing you. Let's get a younger guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's 5 years. 5 years for a running back is like epic now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bummed for these guys. If I'm a parent or an athlete, I would never play running back. I would never do it. I would just pick another position.
I don't even know if I would let my kids play football.
Oh, well, that's a bigger, that's just a bigger question.
It's scary. Especially, you know what? Let me rephrase that. At such a young age, play football, that's a whole other discussion. But if they got older and they really wanted to.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with like 7-on-7. And I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with tackle football at a young age. But it's got to be coached the right way on all sides.
Yeah.
And that's what's so crazy is that, okay, Peyton Manning is my coach. Like, he is a youth coach. Peyton Manning. Like, my friend Mark.
I can't imagine.
Well, I got my buddy Mark, who I love, Mr. Malik. His son is on Peyton Manning's team. Like, they're like,
so do they get a playbook and like
they get it's unbelievable.
That is crazy to me.
Okay, but let's, for the sake of argument, say, wow, Peyton Manning's fantastic, which he is, and he's a great coach, which he is, and blah 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 blah. All right, we're playing the Littleton Hawks, or the
Cherry Creek
Well, it'd be the Cherry
Coyotes.
Creek. It'd be the Cherry Creek Bruins. And
Oh.
I'm telling you, that's the way Cherry Creek operates.
Okay.
But anyways,
Fair
how
enough.
do I know that the guy on the other side is coaching the same as Payton?
Yeah.
I don't. So it's tricky to commit to it. I think in general, if you played 7-on-7 and then you got to 14 years of age in high school, you'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's around the age you start lifting weights more seriously anyways. I don't think you lose a darn thing.
Yep.
The only disadvantage you have, maybe, is at the quarterback position. Other than that, I don't know. And running backs, hey, man, I mean, my hat's off to you for being a running back because you're barreling down a path of like, even at the highest level, it's not exactly the most rewarding thing financially. It's crazy.
I want to go back to Cortland Sutton. What does Cortland Sutton's numbers needs to look like in order for him to stay? What's like the fine line of it?
It's complicated because if he's having a lousy season, he'll stay too. You know, he won't be tradable. So in order to stay, I think it's going to be more about how the team's doing, than how he's doing. Because if he's not playing well, he's not tradable. If the team's not playing well, they'll want to trade him, but they won't be able to. So it's kind of a weird question because if the team's not playing well and he's having a really good season, you would say, oh, you got to keep him. No, that's when you would get rid of him. So I think it's much more about, I think the real question is, well, what would it take for them to be committed to Cortland Sutton for the long haul? And I think it would have to be a combination of, receptions, probably 90 plus receptions, probably at least 9 touchdowns. And
how many touchdowns is Russell Wilson going to throw this year?
Well, you would hope he would throw at least, 30 to 35.
Okay. But how many does optimistic DMAC think?
I think Russ throws.
This is an answer for everyone in the comments as well.
I think he averages 2 a game. So I'll give him. I'm being optimistic. I'll give him 34 touchdowns for 17 games, 2 a game on average, and I'll only stick him with 10 interceptions.
Okay.
So if he goes 34-10 for at least like 36 to 3,800 yards, I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing more than okay.
That's that 9 win.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there, man. Yeah. You are right there. So
it doesn't make me sound so confident.
I don't know, man, what to expect. Listen,
isn't that what's weird though? Because I don't either. I don't know what to expect this season. I don't know if I should just assume that they're going to be terrible or if I should have super high expectations. I feel like I'm just in this middle ground of I don't know.
I know his numbers in his 4 years before joining the Broncos were spectacular. Like if we were to go back and look at his numbers in his last 4 years, I might take any of those last 4 years.
Absolutely.
And you can win with that. All that being said, really what's going to happen is a power running game for the Broncos. And I think it's going to be very close. I think there's going to be a lot of close games. And I think Russ is going to be able to move in the pocket better and be more of a danger running for first downs. And I love it.
And it's going to be a simple playbook and it's going to be easy.
Well, I don't know. It's going to be, nothing's easy.
Knock on some wood. Some easier looking wins.
Easy.
I love you guys because you always bring up the best kind of comments. And Paul says, too much money at the wide receiver position. Didn't New Orleans have one of the cheapest wide receiver rooms in Payton's tenure?
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
Great
but
point to look up. Spending a lot of money at wide receiver is tricky.
Yes.
The Broncos are doing that. They did draft Marvin Mims, so that would be a cheaper option. We don't know, obviously, what's going to happen with KJ Hamler. I'm rooting for the best for the young man.
How Tim Patrick's going to look coming back.
I don't know how Tim Patrick's going to look coming back. I mean, there's a lot of questions. One of the discouraging things is all these lists are coming out. Top this, top that. And so far, that
time of the year.
The only top things the Broncos have are cornerback Surtain,
safety,
Simmons at safety, and Sean Payton as coach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, we're not ringing any other bells here, you know, and they're not.
I was going to say, we saw something earlier this morning. I'm trying to make sure I get the number correct, but essentially it's Payton, a top 6 coach.
I don't even know what that means, but okay, sure. I mean, he's got skins on the wall. He's got a Super Bowl under his belt. He's got a year suspension under his belt. He's got a lot of wins under his belt. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And he definitely is a guy who at least knows what he wants and how he wants things to run. So there's no confusion there. I loved what I saw in the OTAs and minicamp in terms of practicing the little things, the attention to detail. And he didn't have a stupid, camp day, what am I talking about?
Fun
Field
day,
day.
yeah.
Field. That was garbage. It was garbage from the start, and he didn't do it. So good for him.
Was there anything that did worry you?
From Sean Payton? No.
But just from
really.
camp, OTAs?
No, nothing actually.
So we should be feeling positive.
I would. Yeah. I mean, I got nothing in terms of that. I'm not sitting here complaining about how the media is getting treated. Okay. I'm not. I don't care about
part
that.
of it.
It's just part of it.
I get James' point though, of if they suck, the media will.
Nobody's going to care. The media's not going to attack him for, I know all the muggles out there. Nobody's going to rip. Nobody. No, Sean Payton. No, except maybe James.
Well, James.
James may, but he's going to be the only one.
But if you shut everybody out and we have no idea what's happening in the building.
Rachel, the muggles know their place. Half of them are hanging on by the skin of their teeth just for a job.
So you're telling me you're not going to?
But I'm being honest about it from the get-go. Like, so I don't think there's any reason for me to go in another direction, because I just think the Broncos have to realize what they're doing. They're not generating as much interest locally in their team.
Fair.
And because you're not generating it locally, it's not spreading anywhere. And you're about to have the lowest attended training camp in your team's history.
Yes.
So, okay. That's as long as you already know that. It doesn't mean you're not going to have every game sold out, Rachel. Every game is going to be sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Every game is going to be packed. Everybody's going to be excited. But you do have a fan base. You have a wait and see fan base.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a rapid fan base right now. You don't have a fan base that is just, bursting at the seams. You don't have a fan base that is just unbelievably excited right now. You don't.
Uh-huh.
But you got yourself in that pickle because you haven't won. Well, you haven't had a winning record in 6 years. You haven't made the playoffs in 7 years. You kind of buried yourself on this. But I think a slow approach to it, I think is a relatively smart way to go. We saw what the overhype machine did last year, and you're not going to have that. So they're going to operate very quietly. They have no national TV games for about a month into the season, where they finally play, I think, the Chiefs on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
So they've got to really. Last year it was, Monday night, Seattle, let's go.
Thursday, Sunday.
Everything was, weren't there like 4 of their first 6 games or something
Yeah,
like on
it was
national
crazy.
TV? Well, there's nothing like that this
Yeah.
year. You couldn't start off more quiet than the Broncos are starting off and still be in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So they will have to earn that. And they're doing it kind of to themselves in terms of attention, which I can't argue with. So I doubt I'm going to have any, slings to throw at Sean Payton when I'm pretty supportive of everything he's doing right now.
That's fair. But I still think that if they are bad, you're going to absolutely be like, well, we should have known what was going on a little bit behind the scenes.
Maybe, but I think we all adjusted to their weird rules in the beginning. But
Mhm.
I've talked openly about what I've seen and what's going on for the most. I haven't my phone hasn't been ringing or telling me to shut up about it.
And we all know D-Mac's phone does ring quite often.
It's wrong. You know what's crazy? It does. Every time I'm doing this from my house, the phone rings off the hook. Now I'm here and I got absolutely nothing.
How many text messages do you have?
That I got during the show?
Sure.
Just one. I just got one during the show. That's it.
It's shocking.
I know.
That's literally shocking.
Maybe everybody knows I'm here.
Maybe. They're like, oh, we'll just wait for him and then we'll go knock on the door to talk to D-Mac. I would actually love to see how many people a day you text.
Well,
because he gives his phone number out for anyone to text him.
Oh, you're just, okay. I don't know that person.
People call you?
I don't know that person. Oh yeah, those are calls. What am I doing? I just look at text.
People call you though?
Yeah, people call. Yeah, there's a number. There's 1. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is within 24 hours. 7, 8. Oh, that's a DoorDash. Ignore that. That's my high school friend. I'm in a high school group chat. How about that?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I got
this is fascinating. If everyone could see.
There's like 6 in a row that I just don't have any idea who they are.
And you just talk to them.
Yeah. 719-229-8152.
Somebody shoot D-Mac a text right now.
Okay. Who will be the first one? 719-229-8152. They could call too. Obviously, it's a phone. I don't know how quick does this work.
That
on the
is
old coffee
crazy.
break?
Yeah. I mean, I asked people how many touchdowns they thought Russell Wilson. We got 26, 25 TDs, 11 interceptions. Somebody should have traded Sutton and just paid Timmy Pats at the time when he still had some value. Fair enough.
Okay.
Wow, I'm like shocked by your messages though. That's actually crazy. What made you decide to give your phone number out?
That's a great question. I just realized, well, it's probably not the best thing security wise. I'm gonna guess that's a bad thing.
It's not good at all.
If somebody calls me, I don't talk to them. I don't really answer the phone.
Okay.
But I text. I mean, it's a text. Who cares?
That's fascinating.
And so it just doesn't really bother me. If it is bothering, I mean, they're not intruding on my privacy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
Interesting.
But see, nobody's texting. See, I gave it out twice.
Well, I feel like people probably are having to go back because you do say it kind of fast. So they're probably having to listen back and
719 229 8152.
8152.
Now you're asking me, the 719 is the real story.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have a 719
Yep.
number? I've told you this story before, right?
No.
The reason I have a 719 number is to not take things for granted in life. So I was at KBPI and they fired me after 5 years.
Okay.
And I had young children and I did not want to move my children. So I ended up getting a job in Colorado Springs and I just commuted from behind Smoky Hill High School to South Circle.
See? Told you.
There we go. Hi, D-Mac. Did you get the message? Yep.
He's not kidding when he says it's his real phone number.
So anyways, I was down in Colorado Springs and I got a phone. I got a company phone. First time I ever got a company phone, and it was a 719 number. Now, I never really stopped working in Denver because I was doing part-time stuff over at the other place across the street.
Okay.
And I did that for 2.5 years before I started working at the Fan. But I just had the 719 number. I've kept it for 18 years, basically.
Yeah.
Since 2005. As a reminder to be a little bit humble. Believe it or not, I'm trying to keep it a little bit humble. So my phone number is Colorado Springs because you should not take anything for granted. And I feel lucky to be able to do what I do here.
This is so sweet.
And stay here in Denver that I have. And to a large degree, it kind of now it's blowing up a little bit. There you go. So now
you guys are the best.
And so it's just a reminder. Now my kids are out of school.
Yep.
My older son actually lives in downtown Denver. He's 23. And my 20-year-old is about to go into his senior year. Who knows, college with these kids these days out there in Missouri here in the next month or so. So, but I'm never going to get rid of the 719.
I love it.
That's the story. I get nervous shakes every time I drive 25 past Rock Rimmon. I get flashbacks. I was so stupid. I was working a morning show in Colorado Springs. Okay, for 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
5 years.
That's crazy.
I tried to pass a snowplow on the right side at Mothersbacher exit there in Castle Rock. Yeah, not smart. Trying to pass a snow. Think about how stupid this is. Passing a snowplow on the right. And of course, it buried my car in snow. I hit the snowplow. This is 4:00 in the morning, and this is going to shock you because you know how much I hate mowing and doing just manly things. One of the crazy things I actually know how to do is change a tire.
Oh of course.
I know that's crazy. Of all the things that you can't do, how in the world can you do that? I'm actually damn good at parallel parking and changing a tire. Even changing a tire on an SUV, I've got no problems with. And I can drive a stick. These are the only manly things I actually know how to do.
Yep.
So I take pride in that. Should we read some of the questions?
We absolutely should. Did you know, though, that I can actually drive a stick? That was my first car.
That's what I'm talking about.
Love driving a stick, ladies and gentlemen.
Why wouldn't you want to learn how to drive a stick?
It's, first of all, so much fun. So much better than automatic. But in rush hour traffic, it does suck. All right. Text messages. Hi.
Okay. D-Mac, who wins the championship this year in Denver? The Nuggets win again.
Denver Nuggets. Yep.
Fields will be a bust.
That game is going to be so interesting. You're going to get so much feedback.
Listening in, can't believe you gave out your number. I got to get a Justin Fields shirt, by the way. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to root for the Broncos, but I'm rooting for
You need to go to Chicago for the game.
I would love to go.
You should go to Chicago.
I would love to go to
You and
Chicago.
Kim should do a weekend and go to Chicago.
Oh my God. But that means Kim, if there's a hockey game, she would go. She ain't going for a football game.
But she doesn't have to go. She could just go to Chicago.
Do you realize that we've lived here in Denver for 24 years, and my lovely wife, beautiful, adorable wife, has never been to a regular season Broncos game?
Okay, but she's gone to the really fun ones, which is obviously the playoffs.
No.
Oh, she's only gone to a preseason game.
She's only been to 2 preseason games ever in her life.
God bless Kim.
We have our own like routine with the games.
Yeah.
And she just 24 years. She
Yeah.
doesn't care.
Interesting. Actually, that is my fiance to a T as well, because he's got an opportunity to go to Bronco games and he's like, no, it's okay.
D-Mac, do you think the Avs can win?
Ooh.
Maybe, but it's a whole new deal. And so maybe, I mean, they've got like,
I think with Gabe out, you're still missing a huge piece.
Yeah,
I don't think this is the year.
You've got 3 of the top 10 players in the world.
Yep.
With McKinnon, Makar, and Rantanen. Taves is probably up there. You got a good goalie, you got a great coach. And I think you're going to get Val back. We'll see how that goes. Listen, man, I'm pulling for the Avs. My wife, who loves hockey, not football as much.
She's pulling for him.
She's already planning road trips to go see them.
Oh, that's fun, though.
So
okay.
We'll see how that goes. Oh, there we go. Another say hi to Rachel. Is that 2? Oh, the same person. And there you go. So it's like 6 texts.
Yep.
It's not that bad.
And then you what's this news?
Well, let's see. Quarterback will be renewed for a second season. Okay. So quarterback's coming for a second season.
Via Peyton Manning on the Pat McAfee show.
Well, who are the quarterbacks going to be?
Russell Wilson. That would be so cool.
I would love it.
I know James talked about that yesterday. That would be fantastic.
I think it would be weird, corny.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be a lot of really corny elements to it.
I think he would dial it back. I think he would be.
I don't think he could help himself. I think
he
very much knows when the camera's on him. But that's cool. So the update is that quarterback's coming back.
Did so well. We'll take it.
So well, and it's a Peyton Manning show. So way to go. I'm dying. Let's see who those next 3 quarterbacks are. By the way, I mean, if they're going to pick another 3 quarterbacks, they got to do it relatively quick.
Right now, who would you want to do? Russell Wilson's obviously number 1.
I would say Russell Wilson.
That'd be so great.
I do Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers.
But they won't do Aaron Rodgers because Hard Knocks.
Oh, is that right?
No competing there.
Oh, really?
Money.
Yeah, but Hard Knocks is just preseason and quarterbacks like during the. Okay.
I know, but you still have. I don't think they would do it.
I would do Joe Burrow because he'd be the other side to Patrick Mahomes. I would do Russell Wilson.
Yep.
The comeback of Russell Wilson would be very compelling. And
Tua would be interesting for me.
I'd be nervous about Tua though because of the injuries.
And that's why I think it would be fascinating.
Yeah, but like with Mariota, like once he wasn't playing anymore, like that was it.
Oh, okay. So
if they were to do it the same way. I think Tua's a little boring too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I don't think.
Down there in Miami?
Who's a young, like Trevor Lawrence? Like, what's his life like? Like, what does he do? I'd want somebody who's living a little bit of the single life. I
think he's married or engaged.
Trevor Lawrence is married?
I think he proposed. Yeah,
I
think he's the athlete. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, everybody. He's the athlete that didn't fully get down on one knee, and so everybody gave him a bunch of crap for it.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers. Well, all right. So you're throwing out Rodgers.
We need a single one.
Burrow's single, though, right? Burrow's not single?
Joe Burrow is not single.
He's not?
No.
Oh, I don't. All
We need a single quarterback to see the single quarterback life.
I think you need somebody who's going to be competitive, who's compelling, and they do a lot of personal life stuff in the show.
They do, which is why I think it would be fascinating.
Well, who would you want?
Russell Wilson. Joe Burrow is a great one. I would say Tua's interesting because I would love to see the inside behind like the injuries and, and how that really affects it. And then I'm trying to think. Like a Dak Prescott, I think would be interesting. Okay. The pressure of America's team on your back, something around those sorts. I'm trying to think a single.
The craziest one would be Deshaun Watson.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about him. Yeah, it would be crazy. Let us know in the comments who you would like to see on the next season of quarterbacks. And we're going to go listen to James rant about how fantastic we all are, everybody. We will see you tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. for another episode of Coffee Break. Thanks to everybody that texted in to DMAC. Now just keep blowing up his phone. Bye, everybody. See you later.